The first siren cut through the silence like a scream. Children cried, windows trembled, somewhere glass shattered. In a quiet street in Tel Aviv, Miriam stood alone in her kitchen, her hands shaking as she held a cup of tea. She didn't sip it, she just stared out the window. Miriam was 72. She had lived through 2 wars, but this one felt different, lonelier, louder, closer. She lived alone now. Her husband was gone. Her daughters lived far away. Her apartment on the 3rd floor faced east, with a wide window that looked out across the city. From that window she could see rooftops, satellite dishes, and in the distance rising smoke. Each day brought a new warning: stay inside, prepare bags, stay near the shelter. Each night came with tremors, distant blasts, and sirens like thunder, but what shook her most wasn't the sound. It was the silence that followed, the kind that made fear grow teeth. In the hallway, neighbors no longer spoke much. They nodded quietly, eyes tired. Even the cats on the street walked low, like they knew. Across the street, a 9-year-old boy named Eli lived with his mother. His school was closed, his friends scattered. He barely spoke these days. He just drew bombs, shelters, eyes, windows, and every morning he peeked through his curtain at the building opposite, at the woman who never seemed to run. Miriam didn't hide in the shelter. Not anymore. Not out of courage, but out of exhaustion. Instead, one morning, she placed a vase of tulips in her window, bright red, alive, a rebellion in color. Across the street, Eli noticed, and for the first time in days, he smiled. The next day, the tulips were still there, and the day after, even as more sirens wailed, even when an explosion shattered a bakery nearby, painting the sidewalk in flour and fear. But then, the flowers were gone. Days passed. No tulips. No woman. Eli felt something heavy in his chest. He took out his markers and drew a big red tulip. He taped it to his window. It wasn't much, but it was something. 2 mornings later, Miriam returned. She had a bandage on her cheek, but she smiled and placed 2 new tulips in the window. Then something changed. Another neighbor taped up a paper dove. Someone else lit a candle on their sill. An old man on the ground floor wrote peace on a white bedsheet and hung it from his balcony. The street slowly bloomed, not with flowers, but with stubborn hope. It was quiet resistance, the kind you whisper when shouting is useless. Miriam later wrote in a letter, "You can't silence bombs, but you can whisper beauty, and sometimes that whisper travels further than fear." Years later, long after the war, Eli, now grown, walked down that same street. It bore scars, some windows still cracked, some buildings gone, but every spring, tulips still bloomed in windows, and he remembered the woman who taught him that, even in war, you can plant something beautiful, because while war breaks glass, it doesn't have to break the human heart.